in Dearborn today. Find the brand you want at letsstanford.com. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network, recapping the Lions' unfortunate NFC Championship game loss to the San Francisco 49ers. I am Flannel Sam. To my right, I've got Terry Foster in the TD booth. I have JB Smoove, and in the sound booth, I have Detroit Kool-Aid. And first off, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. I know it's not the show that any of us wanted to do, not the show that you guys wanted to listen to, but I appreciate us all being together for our therapy session. And Charles Papinow in the chat. Terry is right on. This is the opening act. It was a tragedy to be sure, but this team is very young. Reload on defense with an edge rusher and at least one shutdown corner, and it will be better. All right. So I understand. 100% that sentiment. I understand some of the optimism for the future at this point. But right now, I have to just give the reality of the situation. The Lions had a 17-point halftime lead with a chance to close the game out and go to the Super Bowl, and they choked. That's all that you can really say about that. And I know that there were some bad things that happened, some drop passes, some questionable decisions, a fumble by Jahmyr Gibbs, but that all plays into the whole said choking. When you really look
that's choking.
That is absolutely choking. When you look at the second half, the first 4 Lions possessions were turnover on downs, in which Josh Reynolds dropped a potential first down pass from Jared Goff. The next drive was that fumble by Jahmyr Gibbs. And then you've got that 3 and out, which was punctuated by a drop by Sam Laporta over the middle, and then a huge drop by Josh Reynolds, a ball that was put right into his breadbasket on 3rd and 10 that would have gotten the first down. And then on the drive after that, they miss it on, they turn it over on downs again, and that drive also had that deep ball to J-Mo that he probably should have caught, and then on that 4th and 3, Jared Goff was pressured. He rolled out and basically threw it to no one. Nothing was really there. So that's about as badly as you can start a drive if you're a half if you're the Detroit Lions. And also the 49ers, on the other hand, field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. The 49ers went on a 20-7-0 run to give themselves a 10-point lead, and that was just basically all she wrote from there. So to me, the Lions, even though you can look back at they're young, they're not as talented, there's going to have many cracks at it, this was an epic choke job, a 17-point halftime lead. And oh, by the way, they actually held the 49ers to a field goal on their opening drive, which I thought was a win. And then they had a chance to get the ball back and salt some clock and get a score, and they obviously did not do that. So as much as we want to be happy about the season, as much as we want to be talking about the optimism for the future, the Lions blew an opportunity to go to a Super Bowl. And Terry Foster, you know as well as anybody how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl in the NFL. They might not get another crack at it. We think that they will, but that was, to me, a big-time missed opportunity and a choke job.
No, I agree with the choke job, but I still think the Ayuk play caused the choke job. You're rolling around, you're having a good time, playing San Francisco, and the fact that you allowed a play to turn the momentum of a game shows that you weren't strong enough mentally yet in a big moment. I mean, you can overcome something like that in week 12 against the Chicago Bears. This is the NFC Championship game. You had no reason to choke this game away because you're in control. But the fact that you allowed a play, or in this case, it wasn't an official's call, but allow officials call a call, or to allow a flukish play to get inside your head, shows you weren't ready for this moment yet. And maybe this is a blessing in disguise. If you're this mentally weak in this game, maybe you go to the Super Bowl and get blown out 60-0 or something stupid like that. So could be a blessing in disguise. But once again, I always go back. You got to have that gristle. You have to have that anger. You have to have that hurt and pain to advance in pro sports.
Oh, yes. I mean, and that's the thing. I see a lot in the chat. I see some Freddie Freddie felt 3-1-3. The moment was too big for us. And, I mean, this Lions team had never been there before. I know certain players like Jared Goff had been there with the Rams and C.J. Gardner-Johnson had been there with the Eagles. But as a whole, this was a young team that had never really experienced that type of playoff heartbreak. And the San Francisco 49ers, as we all know, have. They were in the NFC Championship game last year. The year before, they were in the Super Bowl in 2019. They experienced a lot of those ups and downs. And when it was winning time, the San Francisco 49ers made all of the big plays in the second half, and the Detroit Lions did pretty much every single thing that they could to barf all over themselves, which I get it. Hopefully someday we could look back at this as a learning experience when hopefully they get back a couple more times and actually win the game and hopefully go to the Super Bowl and win that. But right now it just stings. And Brendan Harris, yes, we choked. Yes, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't know if I agree with that, but a 17-point halftime lead in an NFC Championship game, you're not going to get it better than that usually. Regardless, we were blessed to be there, and yeah, it obviously doesn't take away the playoff win against the Rams and Matthew Stafford in the wild card round. It doesn't take away the home playoff win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It doesn't take away all of those experiences. I just think that it is a missed opportunity that the Lions, at least until they get back, unless they get back, it'll be one of those that they're kicking themselves about. I mean, what say you?
Yeah, they'll kick themselves about it, but I still believe in this team that they will kick themselves for the next few weeks, refocus, and be ready for the next chapter in their lives. This is a very good football team, and I think they have shown that throughout the season. We keep waiting for the floor to fall out. We keep waiting for the Lions to disintegrate. We keep waiting for the Lions to disappear, and they don't do it. They just keep hanging in there. Now, for a half yesterday, when you get on a 27-0 run against the Niners, yeah, that's choking in the moment. But once again, I believe, and this is just me, I believe you need that hardship to be able to advance. And now they got it. The bad boy Pistons couldn't beat Boston. The 04 Pistons didn't have a point guard until Larry Brown turned Chauncey Billups into a point guard. 68 Tigers. I'm going to go old school. In 1967, they had a lead at the end of the season and choked it away. Then the next season, they were like all pissed off and played with salt and vinegar. And I think it was 35 games they were trailing in the seventh inning on. They came back to win 35 games. So if you think this is the end, then you still believe in same old Lions, which I don't believe in.
Well, and an old jarhead says in the chat, what do you mean they didn't fold? What planet are you on, T-Foss? And I don't think that's what you meant. They did fold in this game. In this NFC Championship
I said
game.
They folded.
Yes.
What? Am I not communicating? Am I not speaking English?
No, you
said
in
choked.
the moment
They folded. However, let me say this, be clear. I think this bodes well for the future. You have to have that pain in your system to succeed in the future. Yes, they choked. Yes, they folded. Did I get that clear?
Yes, you did get that clear.
All right.
But I think also what you meant is that they still had an excellent season. They won the division. They won 2 playoff games at home, and the future is bright.
But that's the thing. They did choke this away. That's kind of what fuels my optimism. They didn't get smacked in the face. They didn't get punked like I heard people all week on the show saying, y'all are just drinking the Kool-Aid, believing that the Lions can even be in this game. The 49ers are this team, blah, 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 blah. Look, we went into their house, man, on the road. We had them on the ropes. Fluke plays, bad play calling in the second half, questionable play calling in the second half, and players who just didn't step up in the moment. That's what ultimately cost this Lions team. They definitely choked. But I'm not going to sit here as well after the whole season of saying what this team is, how they're being put together, and act as if this is just going to disappear. We're looking at 2 teams who I believe the Lions are built very, very similarly to, and have front offices that are going to help to sustain this, that continue to get to this point. It might not be easy for teams that are constantly in rebuild. It might not be easy for the previous Lions teams to get to this point, but this current Lions team, this iteration of this team that honestly played above the talent that they have on this squad, they got to that point, and they look darn good doing it too. They look solid all season. No back-to-back losses all year at all. No back-to-back losses. You got strong play out of these rookies as well, who are going to be the foundation of this team moving forward. And you still have the front office who, I'm telling you, you can't sit here and talk about Brad Holmes and Sheila and all these people. And I'm going to continue to go back to that point all year long about how good they've done, and then believe, well, that's just it. That's just right. If that's the case, fire them all and start over.
Right. Well, here, let me steal the line from Neil Rule. He always said this, well, both things can be true. Yes, they choked. And yes, I believe there's an optimistic future. And yes, there's a chance you couldn't get back. You won't get back in this position again. All that is true. But my belief is they're going to be back.
It's a bunch of same old Lions fans to me. If you really believe that now, oh, wow, this is our one shot to raise the NFC North banner. And now I keep seeing people saying, well, the Packers' young talent. I don't care about their young talent. I care about Brian Branch. I care about Jahmyr Gibbs. I care about Jack Campbell. I care about who we're going to add to this team. I care about what the Lions did this year, and they showed something that we haven't seen in a very long time. Not just getting to this point, but how solid they were, including Dan Campbell all year. People want to say, don't gamble for it in this game. He cost us. We're not in this position if he didn't gamble some during the season as well, during the regular season. We're not to this point. We would have had losses this year if there were certainly some of these games he chose to just kick the field goal. Instead, we got to this point. You got to take all is as all is, and you have to find a way to improve your talent base next year so that your play calling can mesh with what's on the field. Like that one play that Brock Purdy, I forget who he was throwing it to, and it was on a third down. He was running to his left and just tossed it up there. I forget who it was that jumped up high, made the one-handed catch, and it was like, bro,
Juwan Jennings.
It's like, bro, you got to be kidding me. Everything went their way, and everything went against the Lions in that second half. Every fluke play, every luck play, every amazing play in that second half went against the Detroit Lions. That's not something where I sit up and I say, well, you know what, the Lions, the one thing I do sit up and say, you know what, they kind of dictated the Lions' tempo a little bit is in the second half when they started stacking the box and daring them to pass. They tried to run, and they were running right into the line in that second half, like later in that second half, and it wasn't really working for them. And when they said pass, the passes worked. Jared Goff was putting the ball on the money. You got people who were dropping passes. That, to me, matters, man. If it was like Jared Goff was off, he's not looking like the quarterback that we think he could be, these wide receivers are not looking like the wide receivers we think they're going to be, Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta are still going to be here. They're not disintegrating. They're not going somewhere. They're still here. That I have to believe in. That's why I said otherwise, label me with a big old Sam Lions fan across my forehead. That's dead. Sam Lions are dead, and the Sam
Lions
fans
if they were led by
too.
A bunch of 35 and 36-year-old guys on their last leg, I'd be petrified about the future of this team. But like I said, man, these are pups, young pups. They don't even know what the league is all about yet. Once they learn that, they'll be better. And there's always going to be an adverse situation in a game. They'll learn how to deal with that better. I still say that the Ayuk pass freaked them out. Because, all of a sudden they couldn't tackle. They couldn't run. People started dropping passes. Jared Goff, the whole thing, a guy that's been there, was fantastic the entire game. Yeah, he threw a couple wounded ducks, mostly on the flea flicker and the trick plays. But for the most part, this guy was money.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Josh Reynolds drops are certainly not his fault. The Sam Laporta drop wasn't his fault. That ball that he threw to Jamison Williams in the end zone that would have given them the lead back, that wasn't his fault. Although you can argue that it would have been a tough catch for JMO. He would probably say that he should have come down with it. The only thing I will say, though, is, and this is where I have to push back a little bit, I'm upset about the game. I'm pissed. I'm devastated. I said that they absolutely gagged this one away. And I don't like this idea that, because I'm going to do it a lot more as the show goes along. It almost sounds like if I say anything critical about the team that I'm just an SOL fan at this point. And I reject that completely.
No,
and
speak your piece, man. Nobody's saying that.
That's the Kool-Aid a little bit, though. No. I kind of feel like you implied that a little bit.
No. I'm saying to the people who believe this is it for this team. You can criticize them because we have to. The only way to improve from this moment is to criticize them. I'm not saying that they played a perfect game and just rah. This hurts me, man.
Yep.
I hate what happened yesterday. You guys saw us here. This sucked, bro. Like, you want to talk about devastation? This, to me, is right on par with the Pistons losing the championship. This was just the Lions losing an opportunity to play for a championship. And I'm saying it hurts just as much as when the Pistons lost the championship that they had in the bag. Y'all remember that 05? They had that championship in the bag, and they choked it away. They choked. There are things that I want to see them do better. But the thing is this, I'm not jumping off the bandwagon like a lot of fans did after the Seattle game, like a lot of fans did after the Ravens game. They played the 49ers, the best team in the NFC, and they really should have walked out of there with a win. I'm not going to sit here now and act as if that wasn't the truth before the game and still the truth after the game. If I believe that they're folding up shop, then that's when I say put the SOL fans on. And I'm not saying that's you. I'm saying anybody who believes that this is a Sam Lions team believes that this squad is done now. They're not going to win anything next year.
No, and I would agree that this is a team that is certainly as well set up for the future as any team in the NFL. It's just, we talk about some of the fluke plays and the Ayuk play and stuff like that. You don't get a team go on a 27-0 run in the second half just based off of fluke plays, because then we can start saying if that play to Ayuk didn't happen, and those 2 drops by Josh Reynolds, and that fumble by Jahmyr Gibbs, and the fact that the Lions defense couldn't stop a nosebleed in the second half. So many things went wrong, and obviously it was borne out by the collapse that they had, in which a 17-point halftime lead turned into down by 10 with 3 minutes left, and then the Lions got a touchdown late to make it a 3-point game. But it was an epic collapse. It doesn't mean Lions are SOL, but as I saw in the chat, and I don't like to bring up this term, it was kind of an SOL-esque second half. I'm not saying it is SOL because they showed that they could play with the San Francisco 49ers on the road against the team that overall is more talented, but...
Don't be afraid to speak your piece. If you want to say SOL, you can say that. It was exactly what the Lions of the past have done. Mm-hmm. They've choked away things. They've allowed a play or two to get into their heads. They've, for whatever, there's always in big games, a WTF play that happens. Calvin Johnson against the Chicago Bears with the pass that he caught and they said he didn't catch it. Let me see. How about this moment? Barry Sanders, the greatest running back perhaps in history, goes and to Green Bay. What was it? It was 13 carries and 1 yard or something like that. Stuff like that doesn't happen, but it happens to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not going to kill people who have a little bit of that mindset today. I mean, it's still fresh, it's still raw, but I think as the offseason goes along, the pain of this will subside, at least to some extent for us fans. Let's just hope that the players use it as motivation, because despite the devastation, despite the choke job, it was this Lions team first time in the playoffs, and there is an element to me, not every team has to do it, but most of them do. You got to pay your dues a little bit before you can climb the mountaintop. It looked like the Lions were actually going to get an easy path to the Super Bowl, but that obviously is something that never really happens. And coming up next, we're going to talk about a factor that I believe may have cost the Lions more than most people did. I think a lot of you are going to get mad at me, but let's have a discussion. But first, I got to tell you about Dispo.